Okay, we're live. We're live. We are with the Breaker / Scientist locals. The YGO from Zero locals happen every week. And if you want to be a part of them, join the Discord server linked in the description. But we should be getting started now. And we've got 11 people signed up right now. I'm going to say last call for signups. But if not, I'm going to lock this in. So I'll give a minute. But yeah, it should be fun. Ben L, welcome back to the locals. I'm excited for the locals to start as well. It should be a blast. We got 11 great players here, and it should be a great set of games. So I'm excited to show off the games here. This format is definitely, yeah, it's a bit of a silly one, as you say, History of YGO 1. I mean, you got triple scientists running around, so Scientist FTK is something that people generally do play, but it's kind of like Cyber format, where like a lot of Cyber Sign decks, you know, they might not see play even though they are, or they might see too much play even though they're not as consistent. It's kind of a weird sort of scenario. Watch my video on the effect that Cyber Sign has on a format if you're interested in that. But I'm going to shuffle the seeds twice. I always like to shuffle twice, and we're going to dive into the bracket here, and I'll share this challenge bracket with everyone in the locals channel, and yeah, begin. The locals are beginning. So I'll pin this to the channel there. I guess I'll put this in the locals info channel. But yeah, let's start the tournament. There we go. Locals brackets. And there we go. The locals bracket is up for anyone there. Yeah, let's go. More YFC content. We've had 2 streams today. So, you know, it can be a bit much for me, just like streaming so much. But, you know, there have been 2 tournaments today, and we got to have the locals streams. So it should be a fun time. Even if my brain's a little bit fried from so much Yu-Gi-Oh today, but hopefully I'll be able to, you know, have a pretty fun stream here. This is a pretty, you know, pretty, I mean, there's not really much that goes on in this format overall. Especially if people are just FTKing each other. So it looks like we got Soul versus Ratos starting off already. And so I'm excited to dive into it. Okay, Ratos won the cat tournament. We should have a video for that coming out tomorrow, so that should be fun. But yeah, now we turn back the clock, you know, from cat format to this format, 6 years, 2009 to 2003. And we're in breaker format, scientist format, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of debate about the name of this format. It makes it always very annoying to actually talk about because, like, there's some people who only see it as breaker format, some people only see it as scientist format, and there's a lot of, you know, heated debate about the name of it. But, you know, whatever you want to call it, it's the format that takes place in 2003 using Magician's Force and using the November 2003 ban list, or limited list. No cards were banned at this point. But Magician Force came and went, and there were some powerful cards from it, like Breaker, the Magical Warrior, Tried Infecting Virus. Those cards both got limited, so people weren't, you know, running around with those at 3 copies in their deck. If you want to see games with those, we had a locals in MFC format a while back before the Cyber locals that we've been holding the past couple weeks for the big monthly tournament for that. But that was a fun time. Something that they did not hit on the limited list there was Magical Scientist. They were like, this card seems perfectly fine to have at 3 copies. So it is at 3 copies in this format. So if you can imagine, Scientist FTK is a little bit more consistent here than it might be later. Now, it's not the most consistent that it ever is because you don't have access to Monster Gate, which really helps out the deck a lot. But it is still consistent to some extent. And it's sort of like a Cyberstein sort of thing, where you have a bunch of people playing Steino DK decks in formats where that is a very viable strategy that can just kill your opponent out of nowhere. But is that the best deck in the room? Maybe not, because it's not necessarily as consistent as it needs to be to win a whole tournament. Now, in a single elimination locals, will it be able to win? Unclear. We'll have to see. But I will say, because I do know the contents of everyone's decks in this tournament, I will say that there weren't too many people on the Scientist FTK decks. So MSG here sniping an IO. Very, very good snipe for Ratos here. You know, stopping that IO from getting active and, you know, preventing their spells from going through. So, I mean, you could argue that, like, you know, the MST would have gone to that IO anyways, but, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Soul is losing that IO there, and they're on Skill Dark Magician. So Soul is well known for bringing Dark Magician decks. And we might see regular DM. That is something that could happen. It could just be playing 1900 beater. That's pretty good. But Soul is known for playing some Dark Magician decks. I mean, they managed to top with a Dark Magician Reasoning deck in Warrior format. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were on some Dark Magician tech here. So very, very cool to see. Oh, it looks like GMYFS versus Kesha. There was an FTK. So, yep, that's one of the players on FTK, GMYFS. They brought the FTK to this tournament. And, yeah, some people want to watch the world burn with effect damage. And that burn damage did go through. So, the Snatch took the Skill Dark. But one of the flaws with Skill Dark Magician is that you can treat it off with its effect when it has 3 spell counters and fail to find Dark Magician. So, that's exactly what happened here. And that is one of the risks of this card. But you know, it is a 1900 beater, 1700 defense, so that's pretty good stats even with that downside. And also, you know, this got a Ratos to use up a snatch steal, so you don't have to worry about that as much here. But obviously, Soul is probably a little bit peeved that, you know, all that effort to buff up the Skill Dark Magician here kind of went to waste there a bit. Exiled Force here popping the tomato. Is there going to be a Last Will activated here? Last Will is the good Last Will, so it has the effect where you can activate it before or after the card sent from field to graveyard, and you can activate it, well, like once you've met the condition, you can basically bring out that monster at any point later in the turn. So, this is a big turn for Ratos here, going for a Forceful after that Harpies wipes out the MST in the back row, and it's a Painful and a Moth. That's a very interesting set of choices. Of course, this does depend on what Ratos has in hand. If they have a way to deal with the Moth, then you probably just send back the Painful and you're fine with that. If you don't, then maybe you send back the Moth, because Painful is very strong, but like, you get to choose ultimately which card of the 5 they get off the Painful. So, yeah, it looks like they're going to send back the Painful, so that implies to me that they do have a way to deal with the Moth, because Moth can get back Graceful, so it's not like there are terrible spells in Grave that you can't get back here. So, Tribe coming down, Tribe hitting in for 16. Tribe is newly limited, so that'll get in for dropping Soul down to 3,100. Raiders could just also be trying to set up a lethal line next turn. There are things to potentially do that. Scientist also is very good into Moth because you bring out Scientist, pay 1,000, bring out Dark Balter, and then you attack over the set. Rhoda here, I'm trying to think what they're rotating. They could just Rhoda like an Exiled Force or something like that, but Goblin Attack Force is another way to clear the Tribe. Skilled Dark Magician's flaw reminds me of how Aliens in a trap called Crop Circles that has a punishment for a condition that you cannot reach since you can't activate the trap. Yeah, Crop Circles is one of the weirdest cards in the game's history. I will, like, so whenever I cover a new format, I go over the cards that are released in it. And I'm really excited to talk about the first wave of Alien support because Aliens were, I mean, they were weird on release. And I mean, they're weird afterwards too. But like, especially on release, they were just so weird. So yeah, talked about Cat's deck, and now the dog is met. Okay, that was from the Discord, but I think that was someone else's dog that was getting messed up, not mine. I unfortunately do not have a dog. I do like dogs though. I like cats as well. I'm a pet lover, but I don't have a pet of my own. So maybe in the future, but not right now. Raigeki here getting rid of the Goblin Attack Force and the Moth, so it seems like Raigeki was the out that Aratos had to the Moth there. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk about bafflingly bad GX cards. I mean, we already saw a little bit of that with the Lost Millennium, because the Lost Millennium, that was really my Joker moment, I think. Like, that set, oh my goodness. I mean, it has BrainCon. I mean, it has BrainCon. That's something. It has the first wave of hero support, so that's kind of cool. But like, overall, that set is one of the worst in the game's history at this point in the game. I would maybe even say the Lost Millennium is the worst set in the game's history at the time it came out. It did have Mega Rock Dragon. Mega Rock Dragon is cool. I actually haven't made a Mega Rock Dragon deck. Why haven't I done that yet? Maybe I'll do that in the future. But Mega Rock Dragon is a very, very cool monster. Very, very cool boss for rocks. So that's pretty cool. But, yeah, Mega Rock Dragon. It has Ancient Gear Golem as well. Ancient Gear Beast, etc. But, yeah. I mean, Elemental Energy and Shadow Infinity, they do have their own, like, bizarrely bad cards. Like, you know, there are more good things in them than there are in the Lost Millennium. And I think what you'll see in a lot of these formats is like the things that I'm going to be covering. I'm going to be covering like the meta decks, of course, but since there's a period of time where like Stein dominates, the main jank decks that I'm going to be covering in those formats just come from these specific cards. So for instance, Cyberdeck Revolution had all the spiritual arts. Those are going to get some feature. There's going to be a variety of different things that get featured like that. So it looks like Soul's giving Aratos the Magical Scientist here off of the Painful, which does make sense. Reborn can get back into Scientist. Oh, well, you got Faith anyways, so actually this might just be, this will just be the end of the game. We got a Scientist FTK in progress there in the middle of the game, kind of So very, very neat to see. Now, I want to dive into the GMYFS and Kesha match because we did hear that did end with an FTK game 1. There are so many games on Dueling Book tonight. Oh my goodness. But it seems like they're on game 2, and this is actually a much more back and forth game 2, it seems like. Mirror Force hitting that tomato there. Seen Kesha gone through a fair bit of their deck, which makes sense because they said painful. So that's pretty good. Dust Shoot is also legal in this format, so you're playing multiple Dust Shoot here. Jank decks from which point in Yu-Gi-Oh? I'm mainly talking about the Jank decks I'm going to be featuring off on my channel for the GX formats that I'm getting into. So early GX is mainly what I'm talking about now. The locals won't, well, so next week the locals will still be in the DM era. They'll be covering DCR format, which comes right after Breaker format or Scientist format or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, after that, since we're going to be having a Reaper monthly tournament next month, we'll be doing Reaper locals. So be around that time. So Reaper locals should be a blast. I have a real soft spot in my heart for Reaper format. It's, you know, where I got back into the game and the retro online scene. So I have a real soft spot for it. But it should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to that time period. I think that people are going to be digging into the dank not the dank. Well, the jank will be dank, but they'll be digging into the jank more than the dank that Reaper has to offer. And I'm looking forward to showing off a variety of decks on my channel because there's some cool stuff that come out in Reaper. And Reaper has had a lot of community experimentation behind it before getting like largely abandoned, unfortunately. I mean, I think that's the best word for it. Hopefully we can sort of build up more people playing Reaper format after we actually cover it. But yeah, dank jank in the tank. That's what we got to get. We got to get that jank in the tank, you know, going for some big bank. But we don't offer cash prizes for these tournaments, but, you know, putting ideas in the bank, you know, the brain trust, the blood bank. I don't know. I'm just trying to riff off random things, but listen, I streamed like a 3-hour stream earlier for cat format. And now I'm streaming for Breaker / Scientist format. So yeah, the noosphere. Yeah, that's a high up concept. Elemental Energy, the next first observation of the Poker Knights. I feel Mandela effect. I thought these cards came earlier. Dark Worlds and my favorite E-Hero fusion, Shining Flare Wingman. Now I will say right off the bat, Dark Worlds will see some you know, featuring on the channel. Dump Truck 1, Duel 1 versus Chef Steph. Okay, I'll put that in to the bracket there. So Dump Truck moving on to the next round versus PJ. But yeah, Dark Worlds definitely are going to get covered. I'm not sure. Oh, Duel 1. Why did you mention that to me? Okay, I'm gonna reopen that. Reopen the match. Yeah. Like, please, if you're mentioning, I don't really care too much about like the individual like Duel 1, Duel 2, etc. What would be helpful is if a match finishes up telling me the winner of the match. That would help. But okay, sure. But yeah, Poker Nights are in DM era video games. That is probably where a lot of the Mandela effect thing comes from there. So yeah, I mean, they probably won't see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll feature them on the channel, but like, there isn't much you can do with them at this stage in the game. So yeah, I know match doesn't equal duel, but like when I'm watching the duel going on and also trying to sort of watch the chat and, you know, doing both at once, like, you know, if I see something that pops up that says this person beat this person, like, you know, I generally interpret it as match as opposed to game, unless it's like, you know, very clear why someone is just telling me the results of that individual game, right? So like earlier, when someone said game 1 was won by an FTK, like that made sense because like, okay, well, that's cool. Like that game wrapped up quickly and now they're on game 2, right? Just saying, you know, one duel blank against this person, like that can be a bit confusing for me because I'm trying to multitask with multiple things. But I don't really want to dive too much into that, but we'll be diving into this one. And it looks like that is the end of the game because they've got Snatch on the Kaiku. So that will be all she wrote. And yeah, it's going to be pretty rough. Yeah, so it looks like GMYFS is able to take that one 2-0, winning the first game off of a FTK. So showing that that deck does still have power, even if it isn't the most inconsistent or isn't the most consistent thing in the world. So now they're going to be facing off against Hoy here. But yeah, I mean, I honestly have a lot of that sort of Mandela effect stuff about a lot of the old cards, especially like, you know, Gazelle and Baphomet. I have that sort of Mandela effect stuff, but that is largely because Let's watch M Shobes versus Hylian. I want to show that game off because there is some jank running around in those. So it looks like Hylian won game 1. And Change of Heart's going to come down and take the set. But I have some Mandela Effect stuff with Baphomet and Gazelle because I played Joey the Passion of Chaos a lot when I was younger, and that game had those cards in it. Whereas in the TCG itself, those cards came out like in the 5Ds era. So, yeah, there's a bit of like cognitive dissonance for me on that because, you know, look at different times that came out. But yeah, Forceful Sundry coming down here, seeing the full hand and shuffling back an Exiled Force. Ben L says, when my game comes, you will see one jank level deck. I'm excited to watch your game, honestly. That game hasn't happened yet. That's the winner of Erases vs. Soul is going to be in that one. But I'm excited for that because I think your deck looks really neat. So I'm curious to see how it performs. But Poker Knights are very unfortunate. Their fusion, which is actually sort of interesting, won't be coming to the TCG until Ancient Sanctuary. Not really going to do much for them with a while. Yeah. And, I mean, yeah, you really do need Joker. You really do need the Joker to actually do something with them. Because otherwise, there's kind of like, I don't know. They just seem kind of underwhelming. Like, they're kind of a resource engine. They can bring out, like, Jack from deck, which is like, whoa, they bring out Jack from deck. It's a 1900 monster. Like, who really cares, right? It is very unfortunate because they are such an iconic sort of set of cards from the anime. So, like, you want them to be good, but, like, it just doesn't really do it until later. So I probably won't make a video about them, like, in Reaper. But later on when they get the fusion, I might make a video about them. It's hard looking that much further into the channel's future because I really don't know how things will change when the average quality of card gets better as a whole. So yeah, it will definitely be very interesting exploring like 5Ds era and beyond on the channel. But I'm excited to reach those points. Like, I have a lot of nostalgia for a lot of different periods of the game's history. And I'm also excited to reach the parts of the game that I didn't personally really have much interaction with while it was going on. You know, I wasn't really around for the Arc V era. I wasn't really around for a lot of the Link era. And I'm excited to sort of see what's going on there. GeoMive has FTK'd yet again. Oh my goodness. They're just the FTKest FTKer who's ever done it. But yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to see some FTKs on stream here later on. But yeah. Looks like Raigeki getting added off of the painful, awkward choice there for sure. But you do what you got to do. You can't give them a hand rip. You don't want the call to bring back the Scientist. So yeah, I do get the Raigeki going there. But yeah. Yeah, Arc V era, I think is very fun. There's some cool stuff like in the Arc V era. So I am very excited to actually see that era because, you know, in getting back into the game, like, I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff in hindsight. So looks like they're going to go for a Parshath as well over the Tomato. That is brutal stuff there. Yeah, that is brutal because now that Parshath will be able to hit in for some 1900 points of damage, draw a card, and yeah. Pepe and Performapal is very, very cool. I'm very excited to reach the Pepe stuff because I like Tier 0 formats. Like, I think that I've made that clear in the past. Like, I think they get a bad rap in general. And Pepe is one of the coolest Tier 0 decks out there. So I'm excited to explore that a bit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Performapal, looking forward to the Arc V era in general. I know a lot of people are like, Pendulum's ruined the game. I think that people generally say that about a lot of different points in the game's history. And in retrospective exploration, it should be fun. So yeah, Gilla Will Turtle will do that. Yeah, you only really need Gilla one Will Turtle, and that will do that too. But the double Will just, you know, adds to the fun. X-Head Cannon coming down. This is why I wanted to show off the game with M-Shobes in it, because they are playing some fun jank. Something else that released in Magician's Force is the XYZ monsters. X-Head Cannon, Y Dragon Head, and then Z Metal Tank. And those making contact fusions, the first contact fusions in the game. So I think it's really cool. Bringing on Exiled here, that means that one of the back row has to protect that in some way, or else you wouldn't go for this play, because Exiled is a removal option here. So I feel like Hylian probably has like a Mirror Force back there. They might have something else to just protect the Exiled Force even further. Or they're trying to bluff that. They're trying to get M-Shobes to like do an awkward set play into the Exiled. But I think here you just have to like summon out a monster, try hitting over Exiled, because, you know, what else are you going to do, right? If you set it, the Exiled clears it anyways. So, like, either way, you're trading for one card, but if they don't have anything here to protect the Exiled, then it doesn't matter. So it looks like TT's coming down yet again, so that will clear the Exiled. So you're probably fine with that. That's a 2-for-1 trade. So, yeah, I think you're probably fine with that. Okay, Dump Truck did defeat Chef Steph in the whole match, I assume. So let's put that in there. And yeah, they'll be going on to face PJ Darkness here. But Sangan coming down here, attacking him for 1,000. If you're highlighting, you probably wanted that a turn ago when you had the TT set. But who knows? Maybe they got the third TT back there. TT is unlimited in this format. So, you know, they could potentially play it, pop their own Sangan and do stuff with that. But M-Shobes is probably not going to respect the third TT there. They're going for Breaker. Breaker, very, very good card here. If that is the third TT back there, then I think it's just that good of a duelist. But I think you just go for popping one in the back row, popping the non-new back row, hitting a Raigeki. That's the one. And GMYFS apparently Yada locked their opponent in game 2. So, yeah, does that mean that GMYFS won that match? Yeah, okay. They won that match. So, wow, GMYFS is going on a tear here. We got to get some games with them later in the stream. Seeing them go crazy here. But they'll be moving on to the semifinals, I believe. But yeah, so it looks like I'll hit over there. Oh, we missed what Sangan got. Damn, I should have been watching. But apparently it was something spicy. Apparently it was something spicy that Hylian added off that Sangan there. So we'll have to see later if we get that revealed. But it looks like there's going to set 2 more pass. It's game 3 for Ratos versus Soul. Okay, that's good to know about. Oh, Mirage. When was that act? Oh, okay. Well, you didn't know because Mirage, if Mirage was activated, then M-Shows might have had something to stop that. You can't activate Mirage, like Mirage isn't like a trap. You got to activate it on your turn. So you got to activate it on your turn, and then M-Shows might have a response to it, like an MST or something. So, yeah, go back to the main 2, and activate the Mirage because, I mean, this is the locals. It's not like a fancy schmancy tournament, so it's more casual. But you know, you do have to sort of be careful here to do it by the books because there are things that can stop the Mirage. Yeah, and IO comes down on that. Mirage sticks around. Mirage sticks around on field. The IO just negates it. Yeah, it stays on field. It's a continuous spell. But this is important. So yeah, IO getting activated there in response to the Mirage. You can honestly activate IO later as well. But yeah. So IO shutting down that Mirage is pretty good for M-Shobes here. And yeah, I mean, that's honestly the way to do it, BetL. Get the most Yu-Gi-Oh! Goodness for your buck, you know. I can only show 1 game at a time. So that's the way to do it. Yeah, I would shuffle that too. Like, you know, it just is what it is, right? Because you have knowledge now of what the next cards that are coming. So yeah. And now everything should be good here. So yeah, occasionally things like this happen, but it should be good. So yeah, so it is M-Shobes' turn now. They draw already and everything good to go here. It should hopefully be good. Yeah. Oh yeah, that is a very good point, BetL. You always want to know which deck you're playing against. Getting that knowledge of the matchup can potentially dictate how you play in that game. So, yeah, generally 2 shuffles is good enough. Generally, that's enough for DB to randomize things. 1 shuffle, I mean, this is kind of, you know, anecdotal, but 1 shuffle people have found, like, sometimes the card comes to the top more often than you'd expect. So, but I mean, that's sort of just anecdotal. So, yeah. But a Shining Angel coming down, that is very interesting there. Shining Angel can go into a variety of things in that deck, and go into Z Metal Tank or Y Dragon Head, I believe. So that I do like that option there in the deck. They know what the set is. They know it's a new Doria. And new doesn't necessarily have to kill the one that kills it. It could potentially kill the Shining if they wanted to. But it looks like they did probably target the Breaker, I assume. But yeah. Mirage Nightmare, best trap. Indeed. Yeah, that would be crazy if Mirage was a trap. That would actually be wild. Because 1, it's not shut down by IO. So that's something. And 2, like, you know, you just activate it, like, at instant speed on your opponent's turn. That's wild. Yeah, so which one is getting popped here? The Shining Angel or the Breaker? I would assume the Shining Angel, because Shining Angel is just, like, in general, the better card to remove with an effect, because you know, you can clear the Breaker by battle. You can't quite clear the Shining Angel by battle because it replaces itself. So yeah, actually would Mirage Nightmares, like, functionality change much if it was a trap versus a spell? I guess there might be more ways to shut it down because you got Decree and Jinzo to shut it down as opposed to just IO. I guess Spell Canceller is some way to shut it down, but like Spell Canceller is generally pretty bad. Except for in specific instances, if you're like siding it against something like the Scientist FTK deck, that can be something. But in general, playing it base, unless you have a deck built around it, like, you know, it's not really the best in most cases. Breaker coming down here, so now that means Hylian will be able to beat over Mchobe's Breaker, then pop the IO in the main 2. So that will be able to get rid of that. But looks like they're choosing not to, choosing to let Mchobes keep paying here, which does make sense if they don't really have any other spells here. Then the IO can just be good to have Mchobes keep because it's shutting Mchobes' spells off as well. And also, like, if they ever do turn it off, then you get the draws. But it looks like Scientist will come out here and potentially be able to clean up this board a little bit. Scientist can bring out the Ryu Senshi here, hit over the Breaker, and also potentially pay 1,000 to negate a trap. So that's a good option. Not sure what other cards they might want to play. If they're playing Metamorphosis, then they might want to go into something else potentially. But I do think the Ryu Senshi is probably the best option here. Yeah, you could go into, like, Thousand Eyes to guaranteed clear the Breaker, but I think in general, just Senshi is better. But yeah, Hylian has no idea what's coming, but they are terrified. But yeah, I think it's probably just a Senshi. Probably not something like too fancy. But yeah, Scientist is crazy while we got it. Definitely a very interesting card in these formats, and definitely should not have been left at 3. Having it at 3 copies is kind of crazy. Yeah, Sentry coming out. Sentry is really good because, one, it negates things like not Mirage Nightmare, Mirror Force. It negates things like TT. Just very, very good in general. But also, it also can't be booked down because if your opponent activates Book of Moon to try to set the Sentry, it has this other effect that negates the effect of any spell cards that target this card. So, yeah, very, very good fusion monster to know about in this format because you're often going into it off of the Scientist here. So if you're Hylian, you might actually want to bait out the Sentry negates because, like, Mchobes is low enough where that could end up mattering here. But yeah, it looks like they're just going to take the 100 and then attack in for 300. There is indeed Prio here because we play with the original rules. So back then, back in the day, Ignition Effect priority was a thing on monsters. So for instance, you could summon out Scientist, and then if your opponent didn't negate the summon with something like a Solemn, then you could just pay 1,000 immediately, get out a thing before they go for like TT. So that is indeed a thing. That essentially should be back in the extra deck, but it doesn't effectively matter here. I mean, there are some ways it can matter if you've got like Skull Lair, but like that essentially should be back in the extra deck. Again, realistically, it doesn't like matter too much here, because like I mean, there's no Gigantes in this format, no like Chaos Monsters in this format, so it doesn't really matter too much. But it could come up, so it is good to know about. But yeah, I'm not really gonna like message them. Like, I don't really think it's a big enough deal to like, you know, message them on stream here, but it is good to know about in the future. So looks like they've got a rulings question here. So I wonder what that rulings question will be. There are a lot of interesting rulings that can go on here, but it might be related to the XYZ monsters. So yeah, I'm curious to see if we'll get to see an XYZ fusion here. It could also be related to IO ruling. So they might be wondering what happens if you let IO drop in the standby phase. If you let IO drop in the standby phase and Mirage is on field, then Hylian will be able to draw 3 and get the draw from Mirage. Because basically the way it works technically is that Mchobes can basically, if there are multiple things that can basically trigger in standby phase, Mchobes can pass priority on deciding the IO to Hylian to decide whether they want to resolve the Mirage. Hylian can pass then the priority back to Mchobes to decide whether to do priority or keep the IO up or let it go. But yeah, you do get the Mirage draw. You do get the Mirage draw. Okay. So if you let IO drop and then you have to MST. Okay, I see what they're asking. So if they let Mirage, or if they let IO drop and they've got an MST in hand, so right after the IO drops, they MST the Mirage. I believe what happens is that you will be able to stop the Mirage from drawing. I think. I could be wrong. I think you can MST before Mirage, because I think that what happens is Okay, Aratos defeated Soul, so Ben L is facing Aratos. We'll dive into that game after we watch this one. So we'll put that in to the chart there. But I'm pretty sure what happens with that ruling is the Mirage activates its effect, and then you chain MST in response to it, and then they don't get the draws off Mirage. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I could be wrong. But we'll find out soon in the rulings channel, and hopefully we'll be able to see an answer to that, because that is an important question that can come up in these formats. I haven't actually seen that variation on this question come up, so that's very interesting. I'd expected to see all the IO Mirage interaction things in the standby phase that people could throw at us, but that is a new one, I think. So let us know in the chat what you think. But yeah, I think you can just chain MST to the effect and then they won't get the draws. I think that is what the judge ruled as well. So yeah, so I think you do MST chain to the effect of Mirage, and then that will stop the Mirage from drawing. So yes. Yeah, so I think that will indeed work. Yep, no IO pay. They're letting it lapse. Mirage activates and you basically chain MST to it. So the Mirage will fall. You don't get the draws. So yeah. Very important to have that ruling down in the history books. But yeah, the game is definitely hard when it comes to these weird ruling interactions. Especially when it comes to like continuous spells and traps, because like there's weird things where like MST does not negate when you activate like a normal spell or trap, right? That is something that everyone learns. But with continuous spells and traps, it's a bit of a different story, right? If you chain MST to like Mirage, then you get to stop the Mirage from going through. And this is very scary for M-Shows here. Depending on what Hylian has in hand, this could potentially be the end of the game. It looks like Hylian is going to... Oh, Hylian has their own Scientist. Interesting. Okay, interesting. I would not necessarily use Snatch on the opponent's Scientist. Okay, well, Reborn should do it, because you go Balter. That won't quite do it. So M-Shows will still be alive. Oh, wait, are they just going... Oh, I do not like this play at all. No, I do not like this play at all. There's no reason to take control of Scientist here if you've got a Scientist of your own. You just bring up Balter, attack over their Scientist with the Parshath, and then attack indirectly with the Scientist that you brought out. Yeah, I do not like that play. I think this is just wasting the Snatch steal. And you're giving your opponent life points next turn. So, like, you're also allowing the Witch to resolve. Oh, I really do not like that play at all. No, I do not like that play. But, I mean, the game is tricky. The game is definitely tricky. And, again, this is, like, Hylian's first time playing the format. So, yeah, that happens sometimes. Again, it's easy to commentate. It's harder to play. So, you always got to be... you always got to realize that and have some sympathy for what people are doing here. But, yeah, it's too late now. Because the Witch has been revealed. If the Witch had not been revealed, then things would have been different here. But because the Witch was revealed, I don't think you can really go back. Because now it's just playing with information, right? Like, it's easy to decide after seeing the Witch gone, like, oh, I want to Balter that. But, like, before that, I mean, you could have made a different thing. So, yeah, so they do get the Parshath draw. That is important because they did deal damage. And, yeah, they're just going to set one and pass to M-Shows. But, yeah, they can hit him with Scientist. That's fine. But, yeah. Yes, I agree. Balter was the correct move here. You bring out Balter. You hit over the set. And then you can bring out Parshath with the Reborn either way. Hit over the Scientist in defense, then attack him for 3. You get Snatch next turn to take control of your opponent's monster and potentially win the game. Actually, I think they would have won the game here if they had done this play because, well, we don't know what M-Shows has for follow-up in the back row, but I feel like they would have won here if M-Shows didn't really have anything in the back row because you just Snatch the Tribe and then you win the game. But, yeah, I mean, the Tribe wouldn't even be in hand here, actually, because the Witch searched the Tribe, so... Yeah, I think that Hylian might have thrown this game. I mean, M-Shows is definitely not out of the woods yet. They're going to go for a change on the Parshath here. Take control of that. We haven't seen a Mirror Force out of Hylian yet. So Mirror Force could be coming, but they're going to attack over the Scientist. There's the Mirror Force. So that is why M-Shobes did it this way. Very, very smart sequencing of plays. And yeah, now they can go for Tribe. Discard a card here, wipe the board. Pitching a Z-Metal Tank. No! The pieces of the combo falling apart. But yeah, that's how it is sometimes. Now, they're not out of the woods yet. There are many ways that Hylian can come back to win this game here. But it is looking a bit better for M-Shobes now. And I think that Hylian could have potentially won this game. But yeah, I think M-Shobes is definitely ahead at this point. Tagging in with the Shining Angel into the set, I think this makes sense. Very few things wall up here that wouldn't wall up a Tribe. You're basically looking for that range between 1400 and 1600 attack. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how it is Hylian sometimes. But like, again, it's hard playing in a format. And it's also hard playing when it's your first time playing in the format, right? So that's how it is sometimes. Like, you get a tricky game, whatever format you play of it. And so it does make sense. But yeah, Reaper does indeed die after being revived with Call of the Haunted. So yeah. But it looks like Pigeon has snaps to pop the tomato. I think that makes a lot of sense there. And yeah. Yeah, it's setting another, so Hylian is still in it. But let's see. Okay, they're going to battle. Shining Angel tagging into the set. It's a Faith. Okay, Faith. Faith helps. Okay, hold up. Faith can potentially get Hylian back in the game here. If you Faith back Reborn, that's really good. You get Parshath back, hit over the Tribe. Yeah, so Reborn is indeed going to be the pick there. Hold up. Actually, Reborn for Scientist might win you the game as well. You pay 2,000. No, it doesn't win you the game. No, it doesn't win you the game. So, yeah, you can't win the game with Scientist, but you can Reborn back Parshath, hit over the Tribe, draw a card, and then you're really sitting pretty. So, yeah, it's looking... Okay, it looks like the game is reversed a bit, and Hylian might be back in the saddle here. They might be back in the saddle. Yeah, what a fascinating late game indeed. Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah, okay. Harpies, Feather Duster coming down here. That's going to be a bit scary. And yeah, hitting another Harpies. So, Dark Hole. Reborn. I mean, Reborn for Parshath is probably the best move because, like, you draw a card, get him for 19. You can't kill this turn, but no! Not Scientist! What does Scientist do here? You can't attack directly with the fusion monsters. No! Yeah, that's very much something that comes from not playing the format before this point. Because if Hylian had played the format a bit, they would know about the fusion thing. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a locals, it's a more casual thing. If this was a big tournament play, it wouldn't necessarily turn out that way. But yeah, getting back Parshath here is the right play, and we see Hylian do that now. And again, this sort of stuff comes with, playing the format more, seeing how the interactions go more. So, yeah, again, like, it's not really, it just comes from experience, right? And Hylian is getting the experience here. So, looks like they are fine with that. And M-Shobes is going to need a heck of a top deck here to actually get out of this situation. They might not have it. They might have it, though. Yeah, and that will just be the end of the game. Sangan, yep, not going to do it. That's Parshath, such a powerful card. But, yeah, that's going to do it. Not much that could have been done there. But, okay, that is M-Shobes versus Hylian. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see any XYZ shenanigans going on there. But, still, very, very neat deck playing Parshath. Not many people are playing Parshath here. Let's dive into Pikachu versus Aratos here because I am curious how that game is going. So we got Ben Labs versus Aratos here. Ben Labs is on a very interesting deck, playing more than 40 cards and playing a variety of different things. They're playing Reaper. That didn't really see as much play in this format. Yeah, and the hand, it looks like on Aratos' side is Serpent. With the Jinzo up, that makes things a little bit awkward for Aratos. They're also very, very low on life. They can't use Scientist anymore. So it's looking pretty good for Ben Labs here. Yeah, it's looking very, very good for Ben Labs. So Ben Labs setting 2, attacking in, playing around Morphing Jar. It's just the Serpent, though. And they're just going to pass back to Aratos here. And yeah, Aratos just scooping it up. They're like, I can't beat that. You win. But yeah. Yeah, second ever duel, good format. Yeah. I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. Like, I do think that, like, the first couple games you play in a format can really color your perception of it, right? And one of the things that is very important when diving into these retro formats, in my mind at least, especially as someone who, like, has to cover, or doesn't have to cover, I'm basically, you know, going through my own journey through these retro formats with y'all. But I feel like I can't just dive into a forum and be like, I don't like it, I'm going to skip it and go to the next one. That would be sort of betraying my mission of the channel here. And as someone who plays a bunch of these formats and, you know, is going through one by one and wants to show off all of them, you know, I have to always be like, okay, well, maybe my first game wasn't the best in the format, but what is there to like about it, you know? And did it come down to, like, just not having skill in the format, or did it come down to just inherent flaws in the format? And I think that playing a bunch of games is the best way to figure that sort of thing out. So, yeah, I mean, if you have a good start to the format, then, like, you're going to enjoy it. If you have a bad start, you might not enjoy it, but I do think it is worth just giving it a couple games beyond that. Maybe trying out different decks as well, just to see if it could be for you. Maybe it's just the deck you're playing. Maybe it's someone else. Yeah, because Amsterdam isn't really, like, an official format that people play. So, you know, I showed it off on the, I gave it a video, right? But the video made it very clear what the format was and why people didn't play it. So, you know, like, I can't necessarily cover all the formats that people don't play, right? Because they're not played. There's no retro community around them, and generally they're overshadowed by other formats that come out around them, because after a certain point in the game's history, there are too many releases that if you granularly divide them into, like, just micro formats, then it's not really helpful. It actually is harmful, because it just splits the player base even further, right? So when I'm talking about, like, every format that I'm going through here, I'm talking about, like, the formats that people actually play, or if there was a ban list in place that has not had a format for it. A ban list means that there was an event for that ban list, right? So, you know, if there's a ban list out there that does not have a format for it, I will be covering a format from that ban list, right? But the general mission with these formats is to basically go through the formats that people have played in the past, and, you know, experiment with them, see what's there. And Amsterdam, unfortunately, it shared a ban list with Chaos format. It basically was similar to Chaos format, but Reading the Gate Turbo was, in my opinion, the tier 0 deck, kind of. Like, there were things that Chaos could do to stop it a bit, but, like, Reading the Gate Turbo was just so busted. I mean, that was just insane. Like, that deck was insane. And, of course, like, you could play more games in it. If people do want to play more games with it, like, I encourage them to do so, right? Like, I am not sitting here saying no one can play Amsterdam format. I tried it out once. It solves, you know, no one play it, right? I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that no one plays it currently. And, you know, based on my video showing it off, I can understand why no one plays it currently. And because no one plays it currently, I'm not going to be featuring it on the channel. I featured it once, but I'm not going to be making a big monthly tournament for it, because, first of all, that would then be a lot more work for people like Jazz, who, you know, runs Format Library, has to add, like, formats that people officially play to the Retrobot. I don't want to put that work on them. And, like, it's just, like, it wouldn't really be that productive in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I mean, if people want to jam Amsterdam games at some point, I encourage them to do so, because, listen, Reading Gate Turbo, one of my favorite decks of all time. For me personally, I find it very fun to jam with 3D Mock in a Reading Gate Turbo deck. Like, that's just a blast to me. Like, I think it's really fun. But, you know, it's definitely not everyone's cup of tea, and it's definitely not one of the most skill-intensive tier 0 formats out there, if it is indeed tier 0. And if it's not indeed tier 0, then it's just a very high variance format, because, like, the thing that would make it not tier 0 is if Chaos can stop the Reading Gate Turbo threat, and the way it does that is just by, like, CDing out a CD and then wiping away the hand and field, right? So realistically, it's not a format that would get a tournament for it. Just like something like DCR format or MFC format or etc. are not getting tournaments for them, right? So anyway, that was a long-winded response to that, but I do think it deserved a response there. So yeah. Yeah, you can check log. You can show log about, like, the card that was drawn and stuff like that. Or Ratos can, at least. So Ratos can confirm that nothing too shady happened there. But Yeah, Tribe, very powerful. Change of heart on the set. Light Force Sword. Okay. 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 I want an unlimited tournament. 3 of every card ever printed. I know that there have been some recent events where it's like no ban list tournaments. I'm not sure if those are completely unlimited, but I do know that like tier limits did very, very well in those. So if we did hold like just an unlimited thing where like no card was limited to 1 copy, I do feel like tier limits would maybe be the winner. But yeah, DM era is definitely like very, very rough. I mean, we saw that in LOB format, right? Like it's kind of wild. Yeah, but as Red Solaris says, OCG has done some unlimited format tourneys. But yeah, going for Scientist here, bringing out a Balter. Balter hitting over the set, hitting over a Grizzly, so that will get its effect negated, and now attacking in for 1900. That's a pretty good move on Aratos' part. Set might not be, or the card ripped out of hand might be the change of heart with the Light Force Sword, which is actually kind of wild. But yeah, we'll have to wait multiple standby phases for that. But yeah, Light Force Sword could be seen as a lesser hand rip, not the worst thing to be. Exactly, Gordon Boone. There's definitely is experimentation to do there. It's kind of like a drop-off, right? Except it's a drop-off that you don't have to activate in the draw phase. So you don't necessarily have to, you know, if your opponent draws an MST, Light Force Sword is actually a little bit better than drop-off. So yeah, Zodiac also did well in it, if I remember correctly. I could definitely see that as well. Zodiac is very powerful at full power. Even if, like, you know, you go back and you play a Zodiac format, like now, and you're like, oh, ending on a Trident, like, that's not that impressive, right? But, like, the deck is just so good at setting up its stuff, and, like, it's just so annoying to deal with some of those boards that it can set up. So, yeah, looks like Ben Lab's left with 1,500 and a dream here. Going to be a bit tough for them to come back from this scenario. But we'll have to see if they actually manage to do it. Hopefully they reconnect to the DB here. That'd be very unfortunate if they unfortunately lag out. Looks like they are back though. So hopefully that won't be a big deal there. But that top deck better be something good. They're setting 1, passing back. Science can bring out another Balter, hit over that set. You can even bring out, I mean, yeah, you just want to bring out Balter. I was going to say you could even bring out, like, okay, it looks like Dump Truck defeated PJ there. So I'll put that in the thing. Dump Truck, you know, blazing their way to the finals potentially. You know, Dump Truck has won a lot of these in the past. So going for a Restrict instead of a Balter, I think that also is fine. Realistically, it doesn't change much. But, oh, they're trimming over for Jinza. So that makes a lot of sense. Yep, that is the correct play to do there. And yeah, that will indeed kill Ben Labs. So Ben Labs lost that one. Erases lost the first one, so they're going to a game 3 here. Soul says, personally not a fan of Fusion Sub-Zoo even now, though could be experienced because it was one of the earliest formats I experienced at the time. Or, oh, because it could be because it was one of the earliest formats that you experienced. Yeah, I mean, the Zoo formats are definitely controversial. I think it goes along with like a lot of the Tier 0 formats, right? People don't like that sort of thing in general. I personally enjoy seeing Tier 0 formats. Like, I think it's a good test of skill. But, you know, it's definitely not for everyone. So I definitely get that. And actually, I'm not sure if Fusion Sub-Zoo was Tier 0. There might have been other decks running around as well. Again, I don't really have the most familiarity with that era. So, you know, I'm not too familiar with it. But there definitely could have been. But, yeah, okay. It looks like has the Dump Truck Hylian game started yet? Looks like it is not. So let's just dive back into Aratos versus Ben Labs. Maybe finish out this game. But yeah, we've only got a couple games left in the tournament here. After this one, they'll go into whoever wins that versus GMYFS. And whoever wins this one will be facing off in the grand finals. It'd be wild if GMYFS makes it to the grand finals again. That would be very, very neat. Okay, it looks like Hylian is taking care of something real quick. So that game will happen a bit later. So, yeah, it looks like Rachel versus Ben Labs here is going on. Oh, Draco Zoo is also very neat. And you get into discussions of like, you know, should those be classified as like really different decks because they're both playing the Zoo engine, but Zoo is kind of like an engine. So like, you know, is it an engine? Is it the archetype? Tough to say, but yeah. I'm taking poetic liberty here, okay? Like, I can call the grand final a grand final if I want to. Like, technically, grand final is not an official title. It's just a title people use in the final game sometimes. If you know, if there's a lot of pomp and circumstance surrounding it. So we can make as much pomp and circumstance as we want around this finals. It's our locals. We're diving in. I mean, no one plays this format anyways. So like, you know, if we have a finals in it, we can make it the grand finals if we want. It might as well be. But yeah, GMYFS says they need to redeem themselves. If they face off against Aratos, they might have a chance to. But Ben Labs is putting up a fight. Painful choice from the start. They're sending double Light Force Sword, Sinister Serpent, and some more stuff. Exactly. It's our locals. We can cry if we want to. Hopefully no one's crying because we're all trying to have fun here. So hopefully those crying is tears of joy. That'd be good if it's tears of joy. Looks like they misclicked with the Serpent. That's fine. I'm going to send Yada instead. Yeah, I generally am not like the biggest fan of sending Serpent off of 5 with Painful. There are some things that you can do with it. But in general, it's like you're just simplifying your opponent's choice down to that one Serpent. There's generally not a reason why they wouldn't give you Serpent in that situation. So, yeah. They're willing to destroy grass decks by putting it to 1 at the time while having the kids' gloves on for Zoo. I mean, we've seen that time and time again, like wind-up format. They hit Tengu Plant, because that was clearly the best deck in the room. Not Wind Up, Injector, or Dino Rabbit, for sure. That's just what Konami does. They try and let people play more with the newer cards and not with the older cards, even if it doesn't really make sense for the ban list there. But, you know, that's just what they do. That's the reality of it. One of the nice things about playing retro formats is that, like, you don't really have to worry about the whims of Konami's ban lists because, you know, they're never going to change the ban list for GOAT format, right? The GOAT format ban list is the GOAT format ban list. I mean, you can play things like Modified GOAT if you don't really like the GOAT format ban list a ton. But, like, if you want to play GOAT format itself, you never have to worry about them changing the ban list there. So, going for pre-mat on the Grizzly, tripping that over for a Jinzo here. And just passing back. Okay. Pretty unassuming board. Could be pretty scary if Aratos has a way to take control of that Jinzo or do things. Tribe will also shut down the Jinzo there. But it looks like they've just got a set, and a pass. Okay, so it seems like that Jinzo is putting in a little bit of work there. Radai says, it's even worse with that decision. Grass came out in the same set as Zoo. Oh, no, I didn't even realize that. Oh, damn. I mean, maybe they just felt like Grass promoted a style of gameplay they didn't want to care about, namely like the 60-card Grass decks. But yeah, it is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, Breaker coming down here, hitting a Jar of Greed here. That is maybe telling. Could be a Cyber Jar set. But it looks like it's just a Serpent, so the Jar was just a bluff. And unfortunately, that did eat a Breaker removal there. So, yeah, a bit rough for Aratos here. They do get back the Serpent, so it's not the end of the world losing that Serpent there. But, you know, unless they've got a way to deal with that Jinzo, things could get pretty bad for them pretty quickly. Going into main 1, what are they going to do? Scientist clears Jinzo. Tribe clears Jinzo. It looks like they're just setting 1 again. Set another back row. Setting 2 back rows, actually. Okay. Oh, Raigeki. That's interesting. They're not going aggressive even with that Raigeki. That's maybe a little bit telling. Light Force Sword coming down here. Banishing a card. A very, very interesting plays here. Very interesting stuff. And again, like that Light Force Sword, potentially like a hand rip. Duster coming down here, hitting an MST and a Mirror Force. That is really, really good for Ben Labs here. But yeah, I wonder what they're doing. They're going to set another pass back to Aratos here. That's turn 1 on the Light Force Sword because it's your opponent's 4th standby phase after activation. So that's the first standby. Fibers are getting flipped up here, so that will be able to shuffle back everything. Give Aratos an aggressive push here potentially. So yeah, I don't hate that play. And it also does make sense why they went a bit aggressive with the Raigeki and setting their cards. In case they've got a way to clear the fiber, you know, you want to clear the Jinzo and the Breaker. And if they don't have a way to clear the fiber, you're at least playing a little bit more safe. So I do like that play a lot. And now Ray just has the option here to go for a big play. And actually, it's kind of funny. That Light Force Sword will add that card to hand back, basically giving Aratos a +1. I didn't even realize that, but that is kind of an awkward interaction between Light Force Sword and Fiber Jar. But that actually works out really well for Aratos here if we make it that far. So that's kind of neat. Force of Sentry here, shuffling back a card. What will it shuffle back? Let's see. Ben Lab's getting a full peek at Aratos' hand here. Will they... Okay, looks like Harpy's Feather Duster, Jinzo, Change of Heart, and Call of the Haunted. But yeah, that is one cursed interaction to GeoMyFS. Yeah, That's kind of wild. I mean, maybe that's why people don't play Light Force Sword as much. But yeah, that's kind of wild. I do like that. I mean, it's neat. It's something you never think about until you play these formats for yourself, and then you're like, oh wait, that is how that works. Yeah. So that's very, very neat. But Ben Lodge is probably regretting that Light Force Sword a little bit here. Pot to draw 2 though. You know, feeling pretty good about that probably. Set 1. Will they set another? Unclear. They will indeed set another there. Pass back. This is turn 2 on Light Force. Okay, they are keeping track of that. So they've realized the interaction as well. Yeah. But still, I do think that, like, we wouldn't have known that unless someone experimented with Light Force Sword. So shoutouts to Ben Lab for actually trying out the card in the deck, because, again, without that, we wouldn't have known. Fibers are getting flipped up yet again. Oh, boy. Yeah, reshuffling everything again, trying to get a more aggressive start here, it looks like. And, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's kind of what you want. And, yeah, getting 5 back. Fiber times 2. Yep, that's how it goes sometimes. If you draw that fiber, going for Saiyan here, attacking him for 1,000, dropping Ben Labs below Oreto's life point threshold, and then setting 1, setting 2, passing back. Very good stuff. I don't think there's a way to return banished cards to the grave at this point. I need to check what... Did anyone know off the top of their head when Miracle Dig came out? Because that is a way to return banished cards to grave. But it's only monsters. It's only monsters with Miracle Dig. And you also have to have like 5 monsters banished. So, Labyrinth of Nightmare. So, Miracle Dig is out at this point, but it's not good. Like, you would never play Miracle Dig because it doesn't really do much, right? There's an argument for maybe playing Miracle Dig in like some of the formats. Let's see, Labyrinth of Nightmare. So, yeah, there is an argument for playing Miracle Dig in like Android format or like Fiber format or something. Something where like Skull Lair is a factor. You refuel your grave for Skull Lair, you refuel your grave for Bazoo. So there are that sort of thing. And like also if you want specific cards back in grave for Fiber, then there's that too. But generally you don't mind about losing monsters in your deck from Fiber. You generally really care about like losing like the powerful spells for Fiber, like if your opponent summons out a Kaiku and attacks in. So yeah, Miracle Dig though, interesting card for sure. I'm curious if anyone's playing it in the Android format tournament that's going right now. On the Android Discord server, Android Land. Definitely check out Android Land if you're interested in that. I don't have the link to that in the description because it is for Breaker/Scientist. But, yeah, no gain of life points there for the Snatch deal because the IO is negating that. And it's not a maintenance cost. So, yeah. But, yeah, they paid for Imperial. And now I just got to decide, what do I do about that set? What is that set? Yeah. What do people think that set monster is? They snatched the Sangan. That's a bit interesting. Cost are negated, but the thing is, snatched and the cost, so it doesn't really matter that way either. But yes, cost will be negated under like IO, or under like Jinzo. So Jinzo will shut off IO's maintenance cost here. Yeah, so that is important to know about. That comes up especially next format with Archfiends, where you have like skill drain interacting with the Archfiend maintenance costs, which those cannot, or they can be negated in I believe they can be negated in Vampire format. I know they can in Dark Crisis format, but I believe in Vampire format as well. But anyways, Jinzo's gonna attack into a Grizzly. And yeah, that was the third standby on Light Force. That is very important because that card is coming back. Do we think that card's a Serpent? Could be a Serpent. We knew about the Serpent in hand before. So if it did hit the Serpent, you know, that could be Serpent coming back, which you probably aren't too upset about. But yeah, Grizzly's a bit of a scary card to be facing down. Grizzly can go into Serpent and can also go into Turtle. Plenty of things you can do with Turtle. Spells are now back online because IO is negated, so there are also a variety of powerful spells that you could potentially go into here. There's even the possibility of crashing Grizzly into the Jinzo, bringing a Catapult Turtle, Change of Hearting the Jinzo, and then tributing off for that. Although you could argue that that might not be the best use of a Change of Heart. Or a Battle Phase, really. But it looks like they're just going to set another, switch the Grizzly to defense, pass back to Aratos here. Maintenance cost is negated, but the Light Force Sword will indeed add that card to hand. So, yeah, Light Force Sword, given back the card. Yep, it has been 4 turns indeed. So, very, very interesting interaction there. We actually got to see that interaction go through. So, giving Aratos that +1. Yeah, rough stuff. Might be Change of Heart. Yeah, it could be Change of Heart as well. I believe. well, that was a previous game, I think, with the Change of Heart thing in hand. But, you know, they could have had the Change of Heart in hand as well. Or did we know? Did we know? No, it can't be Change of Heart because that was after the Light Force Sword went through. So it can't be Change of Heart. But they're going to bring out a Witch attack into the Jinzo here. Aratus did not need to pay 700 because of the Jinzo. That could come up. Might not, but like the Imperial Lore is negated, so you don't have to pay the 7. But might not come up. I'll just I'll send them a little message there. Yeah. Don't need to pay. Oh, okay. Ben Lab's got it. Ben Lab's got it. Yeah. You don't need to pay the 700 because of Jinzo, because that maintenance cost is negated by the Jinzo. One of the weirdest interactions in formats like this, but it does hold true for a lot of the DM era, so it is very important to know about here. But they gave back that 7. Probably won't matter in the long run, honestly. But oof, yeah, going for a Serpent off the Grizzly might mean that that other set is a Grizzly now with no targets, but you're taking 2,100 off that. Getting the Serpent in rotation, though, so that is something. But yeah, kind of rough. I mean, Try would be good here. Mirage, oh my goodness. Oh no. Yeah, it's looking rough for you here. Mirage gonna draw a Ratos 2 cards there. And yeah, things are getting a bit dicey. You're getting a little bit dicey indeed. If you clear the Jinzo, then the Mirage is negated by the IO, because that's back up. So Aratus gets to keep the cards that they drew. If you don't clear the Jinzo, then it's just getting in and killing you anyways. So yeah, it's this is a rough spot to be in for sure. I'm not sure what Ben Labs really does here. You could try and go for an OTK, but there's very few OTKs. Well, if you got Scientist, that opens up the line for OTKs. They've got like Change of Heart, Snatch, Scientist. No, you can't have Snatch because Snatch isn't great. But if you got Change of Heart, right? Change of Heart of the Jinzo, bring out Scientist, bring out Balter. Balter hits over Witch for 9. Jinzo attacked in for 24, so that's 33. Scientist goes in for 36. Depending on what the set is, the set really can't do it. Probably can't do it, at least. Reborn as well could be something. Painful Choice, I mean, that is really good here. Yeah, Painful Choice can be really good, depending on what you need to get here. So, yeah, this is going to be a really tricky Painful Choice, probably. Yeah, this is going to be probably the most important Painful Choice of the game for Ben Labs here. Yeah, I'm not really sure what you send, but got to send something. And hope that it's enough to get you out of this. Painful Choice, one of the trickiest cards to use in the game at this point in time, for good reason, because it is very, very strong. It's just like so flexible at giving you so many different options. So yeah, it is very, very good. And if Ben Labs can use it to its fullest here and get exactly what they need, then that's going to be very, very good. So yeah, just such a tricky card. I love Painful Choice, honestly. I know it's broken now. It can never come back because there's so much stuff that can use its effect. It's basically 5 Foolish Burials in 1, and that's really good in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! So it can never come back, but I do think in a lot of the DM era formats, it is so, so cool of a card. Like, people often, I don't know about that GMYFS. I don't know. I personally would say painful, like, especially with tier elements, right? Like, painful for tier elements is just like a win con, right? Like that, if you have painful, like, you just win the game if you're playing tier elements. There's so much graveyard setup you can do with painful. So I don't know if it can come back. I mean, can it get ashed? I think it can get ashed. So that's something, like, it baits out Ash, but like that's the same argument that, like, oh, Pot of Greed can come back because it baits out Ash, right? Oh, it's more just like Konami allowing it back. Yeah, maybe Konami will allow it back, but I do think it is a very, very scary card. I'm not sure it can ever come back. Well, that's because, yeah, they're unlimited. Yeah, but yeah. If you're talking about tier elements winning, then that is true. I thought you were talking about for a second, like, Painful came back in the unlimited tournaments, but yeah, of course it would. But yeah, tier elements winning, I mean, Painful was so good for tier elements there. But yeah, reveal 5, shuffle the rest back in. Oh yeah, Errata would be good, yeah. There was a discussion on stream a while ago, but yeah, traditional, I mean, yeah, again, traditional has no cards banned, but there was a discussion on stream a while ago where people were wondering, like, could Konami bring back Painful Choice with the errata of the other cards are banished face down? Like, so you send 5, the other cards are banished face down, and 1 card's added to hand. Could they bring that back? That's a very interesting thing. I'm not quite sure about it because, like, Kashtira, of course, would be really happy with that effect, right? And if they make more archetypes like Kashtira, then that'd be a bit tricky. But, okay, they're booking down their own Moth. I feel like you can honestly set that, but I guess they're playing around if the opponent has like an MST to snipe the back row. So, but yeah, it would be very interesting. I think there is a lot of design space for Painful Choice that they could work with if they wanted to. I mean, they've been doing things with like they've been doing things with the pots for a long time. They've been constantly iterating on that, and you can potentially do things with Painful in the same sort of way. So I think that would be cool to see what they come up with there. Ask directly, while Droll and Shifter can be detrimental. Even then, Painful itself can't come back. Yeah, I think that Painful probably can't come back as it is, but maybe with an errata, maybe. Gordon Boone says, I do know a card that sort of acts like Painful. Colors have World Legacy, Survivor, Excavate, top 5, pick one archetypal card, send the rest to the graveyard. Honestly, a really good effect. And yeah, I think archetypally, like if it's just restricted to one archetype, that is fine. I mean, look at Snake Rain, right? Snake Rain is a reptile-specific, like, Foolish Burial times 4, and that is nuts, right? But, like, there's been no good reptile deck to actually manage to take that and become a top-tier threat. Maybe someday there will be, but, you know, right now it's fine. And I think that's the case with a lot of archetypal support. Like, you can do some busted stuff on things specific to one archetype, but as long as it's specific to that one archetype, it's more fine because not every deck can just jam it in. And that's what they want to avoid, I think. But yeah, ideal Painful errata would be 5 cards with different names along with the other choices, banish face down, IMO. Yeah, that would be a good errata soul, I think. I think the card could come back at that point. Okay, looks like they picked... Okay, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's kind of scuffed. It's kind of scuffed at this point. Yeah, I mean... miscommunications can't happen. It's a locals. So, it's fine. Discard that, discard another thing. It's probably fine. But yeah, ditching a ring as well. Gordon, sure, I'll play a fun game. I'm down. Gordon Moon says, I did see one tweet theorizing that the reason Reptiles didn't have a good deck is because of Snake Rain. Weird as that might sound. Have to bounce around that card. Honestly, I agree. GeoMyVest says, if you had to errata IO again, how would you do it? That is a very, very good question. IO is just such a threatening card, and if you don't know, they did errata it once. The way that they errated it is during each standby phase, you have to pay the 700, and it's not optional, so the floodgate just stays up. And that was, of course, still broken because some decks didn't really care as much about playing their spells as others, and, you know, it's modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You're not really going to be caring about the 700 life point cost every single turn, right? If I had to errata it again, that's very interesting. Maybe. I don't know. It's very, very tough because the card is just inherently so broken. Any card that basically says shut down this one aspect of the game is just inherently toxic to me. So, I mean, it was for a time, but like, I think that IO very clearly was not fine by the time it got banned again. So, yeah, and arguably you could say even that it wasn't fine for the time. I think, again, any card that shuts down one aspect of the game entirely is a bit toxic. So errataing it is so hard because, like, you've got to preserve the aspect of that, like, it shuts down spell cards completely. But also, that inherently is a broken aspect. And a toxic aspect that I don't necessarily want to play into. So, that's very tough. Just taking control of the Jinzo, not attacking into the Sangan or the Witch, not letting them get into a magical scientist or something like that. I think that makes sense. MST on the Mirage there. And choosing to do that instead of going for the Jinzo. They do gain 1,000 here as well. But it looks like it probably won't matter here. So they're going to exile pop the Tomato, MST for the Jinzo. And now even through double Karibo, this wins. And Pot agreed to just to, you know, draw into a way to play around triple Karibo because that could happen. But yeah, they're going to play into it. If it's triple Karibo, they got triple Karibo. That's 3 cards out of hand at least. But it should be probably fine here. But anyways, I didn't actually say what my errata for IO was. I was just vacillating about how difficult the question was. But I do think that probably what you'd have to do for IO is make it like sort of like a double-sided floodgate. So like your opponent has some way to interact with it as well. Kind of like Chicken Game, where like your opponent can use its effects as well. Maybe it's like during each individual player's standby phase, they can pay 700 to keep this card on field, or they can let it go by not paying, right? And then that's kind of like a double-edged sword. But like it still shuts down an entire turn of spells, which is busted. So I don't know. Yeah, it's like, as long as spell cards are a relevant card for the game, as Gordon Boone says, I agree that I don't think you can bring back Io without completely neutering it. Yeah. And yeah, I am also very sad about the CED comeback, because I think it honestly would have been fine at that point in the game. But unfortunately, you know, they had to kill it. They had to take it out behind the shed and yeah, just completely destroy it. But it looks like we got a Ratos versus GMYFS. So this is gonna come down to the finals match there, getting redone. I'm actually gonna dive into that match, I think, because not that this match isn't interesting. I think this match is very intense. I mean, it's down to the wire. Dunkirk won game 1. That Darkhold is gonna clear the board there. But I want to see GMYFS FTK. I want to see that happen. So let's dive into the GMYFS versus Ratos game. I'm not sure if that's started yet. It looks like it's not started, but I want to watch it. I want to see the FTK if it does go on. Let's see. One thing Lordman says, one way to think about it for Io, and I still don't think it's enough, is maybe negate your opponent's spells during their turn only and your spells on both sides. I still don't think it's enough. Yeah, I think that doing something like that, where like it's specific to each player on their turn or something, I think that's like one way to do it, but like it is just so inherently broken, because again, some decks don't care about spells, some decks do, and Io shuts down spells, so it's like it's just weird. It's gonna be very, very tough. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so it's because of that there. Let's see if they are playing now. Nope, looks like they're still not playing. So yeah, but hopefully we can get that game going on there. Rip. Benel had Yada in hand, so when I snatched the saying, I tried for a Yada lock. That does make sense. Yeah, I think that would be a good play there. And that does explain why YRS 71 champion GMYFS is hosting there, because this is a run back. But that does explain the snatch play. So that actually was a pretty good play, Benel. Unfortunately, they had the IO, and that's what a lot of these old formats come down to. Do they have the IO? Oh, yep. Okay, I lose. You know, that does happen sometimes. Not to say that either player was not playing skillfully, because I think we both played skillfully, but IO is just a like determinative card that is so powerful. Dump Truck defeated Hylian, so that will go into the match as well. And Dump Truck is going to be facing off against whoever wins this game for the next locals title here. Dump Truck has won a lot of locals in the past. Very, very powerful locals player for sure. But yeah, I mean, I can check. Dump Truck has won. I've got a whole sheet of them. Dump Truck has won 9 locals. That's the most out of anyone here in the server. So Dump Truck is defending their title. Now, even if Ratos wins this one and then they you know, win the game against Dump Truck as well, they'd only get up to 8, and Dump Truck will still have the 9 lead. But, you know, it's getting Ratos within striking distance of Dump Truck. So we'll have to see exactly how that happens. But it looks like that game is going on, and we have to see if GMYFS will FTK Ratos here. I'm actually just going to type in the thing. It makes it so much easier when you just search it out that way. Oh, wow. What is going on with my screen here? Y'all see that glitch? That was kind of wild. Yeah, that's a very, very good one, Gordon Boone. I guess you can say Dump Truck puts on sunglasses, trashing his opponents. Yeah, it's a very fitting name. Yeah, he's putting them in the dump truck, taking them to the dump. DBBDB, says Soul. Yep, and that is a very, very tongue-twisty phrase there. Card deep, pitching a bunch of cards here. It looks like they didn't have the double will set up there. Maybe not even one will. Or maybe they didn't want to use their normal summon on the cannon. Going for pot here as well, drawn 2. So we're trying to see the FTK here from GMYFS. Will it get pulled off? Or will they be stopped in their tracks now that they're on stream? Can't happen. They got a They might have a reasoning in hand that might make things a little bit interesting here. But yeah, they do not have Will online to a certain extent, I think. Yeah, if Dump Truck wins this one, they will be the 10 times local champion. That's a big, big milestone. So big shout out to Dump Truck if they do that. Looks like GMYFS does not have the FTK this turn. So, you know, I don't necessarily think that's too sad. You know, it's FTKs are kind of like degenerate, right? But it would have been cool to see, at least on stream once. But yeah, so it looks like they do not have the FTK this turn, even after getting that pot after the card D. And they threw away Ring and the Mirror Force, so that is a bit awkward. Dark Hole getting rid of the tomato there. Raiders just setting one of their own, setting another, and activate Mirage. Okay, this is do or die time for GMYFS. So a very tough spot to be in for sure. MST on the Mirage. and that will clear that. But now what do? You got to think about this for sure. One of the flaws with the Scientist FTK deck is that outside of the Scientist FTK, it can struggle a lot. And especially into things like Unknown Backer, like Ring of Destruction or Book of Moon, etc., going for the FTK is very, very scary. So GMYFS does have to think about this. Now, the thing is, GMYFS does lose this game. They can always choose to go first in the second game and try and get the FTK there. Dark Hole on the monster, though, and that's going to hit a spy. So very, very good Dark Hole there, I think. But what are you doing now? That's the question. Going for a reasoning here. Okay. There's potential there for stuff, for nasty stuff indeed. Rato's thinking here. You probably, if your Rato's call 5. Yeah, I think 5 is the best choice there. Oh, and setting double Last Will, that gotta hurt. Hitting a Gila as well, that's gotta hurt too, because Gila is not the best card here. Double Last Will, you don't have to care as much about a will, from hand here, because GMYFS would have to have the third will. But it looks like they're attacking for 14. I mean, whatever does it, does it. So, Ratos draws another monster, sets that, passes back to GMYFS here. And at GMYFS in another tough spot, what do they do against this board, I don't necessarily have a good answer to that. Going for a Painful here. Painful, pretty good. Potentially setting up for the FTK. Oftentimes in the Scientist FTK deck, you can use Painful to send the exact 5 cards you need to get the FTK. Looks like they weren't able to pull that off turn 1. But there's potential for them here. Sending a Turtle. A Scientist. What else are they sending? A Scientist. A Turtle. And thinking about the last one. A Premat. If you're a Ratos, what do you give them? A Turtle. I think Turtle's fine. The scary thing here is if GMYFS has like True Nate or something, then you're in a tough spot. But if they've got like Turtle Will, then this does just win the game if they've also got like True Nate or something. Going for Scientist here. Okay, not for the Turtle. That's interesting. They're probably going to bring out a Senshi, I would assume. So it looks like Razor's asking for Prio here. No Prio, just in case of TT or something. Or even Ring. You don't necessarily want to pay the additional life points here. So this does give Razor's an opportunity to respond. They are going to ring the Scientist. I don't think that GMYFS is too upset about that. It does put the third Scientist in grave, though, so it's a bit awkward in that regard. But it's not terrible, I don't think. Gil's just going to attack into the set. It is a Fiber Jar, so that's going to reset that. And normal summon has happened. The Scientist has been normal summon, but GMYFS could potentially still go for an FTK here. It's a possibility. So definitely a very interesting situation to be in for sure. But they could also very much not get the FTK. Very possible. Because generally you do need your normal summon for the FTK to go off, but things like Reasoning can definitely help with that. So, there are different situations. It really does depend on what GMYFS's hand is. But yeah, GMYFS says, glad I didn't Prio. I think that is, very true. I think that going for Prio there would have been a mistake there. Can't beat OTKs. I mean, I guess it is kind of an OTK, but they're not using the battle phase. So it's basically just the FTK. Because if you can pull off the kill from this position, then you're doing the full FTK basically, right? Card destruction here, pitching another hand. We'll have to see what Aratus loses there. They lose Snatch, Tomato, Exiled, and Sangan. Double Scientist in hand there. Kind of awkward. Also pitching the Mirror Force there. But yeah, putting that on top of deck, they accidentally drew an extra. So yeah, shuffling does matter here because the extra information from that top card could potentially matter. But GMYFS 7-1, passing back to Aratos here. Does Aratos have a more aggressive play now? They've got the Duster here hitting a meta. And they're also going to go for Pot here, drawing 2. What will that draw? Will that draw them into a way to permanently put the FTK out of reach? That's the question. GMYFS says all downhill from here. Very likely so. Yeah, it's not looking good. Definitely not looking good. Scientist FTK had a long, hard road ahead of it, for sure, from this position. Not really sure if there's a good way for them to get out of it, honestly. Summoning the Fiber Jar and attacking in for 5. just shutting them off from going for like pre-map plus the FTK here. And then just setting 3 passing. I mean, like a normal summon Gillosaurus over the... Oh, or a normal summon Witch hits over Fiber as well. But Book could be in the back row. You book down the Fiber. Okay, Mirror Force also deals with the Witch, so you get rid of the Witch. Fiber's on field for a Jinzo. If you want to tribute over that for Jinzo, that is an option as well. GeoMyFS does get a search here, but it might be hard to deal with an established Jinzo. I mean, Science is a way to do that. You bring out 1,000 out of Trick, suck up the Jinzo, but then you can't really do anything beyond that because the 1,000 out of Trick can't attack directly. So a bit of a tricky spot to be in for sure. Fiber Jar again attacking in for 5. I mean, if it works, don't fix it, you know. Call here as well. Call can bring back Sangan, maybe? Maybe Tomato? I think probably Sangan's the pick. I would pick Sangan at least. Yeah, picking a Sangan. Attacking in for another 1,000. Dropping GeoMyFS down to 5,700. You do know about the Scientist in hand, so that can deal with the Jar and the Sangan in a good fashion. But the back row might be something live, so... GeoMyFS has to think about exactly how to navigate this position. If they go for a, Spell and Trap card wipe, then the Sangan will get popped and it will get a search here. So you don't necessarily want to do that, but at the same time, you might have to do that. MST on one of the back row on the new one, hitting an IO. You never want to see that. Science coming down here for 300. Raiders asking about Prio, and GeoMyFS this time will indeed use the Prio. I think that does make sense. You do want to do that. Ring is coming down on the Magical Scientist here, but I think if you go into a Balter, that's still worth it. Oh, $3.99. Awkward. But yeah, there we go. That 99 is gained. And yeah, going for a Balter to hit over the Sangan, I think makes a lot of sense there. So doing that, clears the Sangan, deals another 1,000, and the Balter will unfortunately go back to the extra deck at the end of the turn. It will indeed go back to the extra deck at the end of the turn because it was brought out of Scientist. Scientist effect returns it back. The only way in which the fusion monster bringing it off Scientist does not return is something like Book of Moon. You can Book of Moon down your fusion monsters to keep them around. But yeah, if it's just brought out of Scientist and nothing changed with it, then it returns at the end of the turn. But Rage is thinking about how to navigate here. Do they pay for the IO? They are going to let the IO go. And they are going to tribute over the Fiber Jar for a Jinzo here. I think that makes a lot of sense. Taking in for 2,400. And now GeoMyFS is in a very tough spot. 3 Scientists gone. Not really good ways to deal with that. There are things like Change of Heart or Snatch that they could be playing to take control of the Jinzo, go aggressive that way. But looks like they're not doing that. Raigeki comes down on the set, and that will be the end of game 1. Okay, I mean, that's how it goes sometimes for the FTK deck, but GeoMyFS put up a pretty good fight against that, against when the FTK failed. So very, very cool stuff there for sure. But yeah, game 2, I mean, GeoMyFS done siding instantly. I mean, makes sense. They're just going to try for the FTK game 2. And then game 3, they can potentially change around their deck to shift it away from an FTK style. But what the Science FTK decks often try to do is in games 1 or 2, they try and win one of those. Given that you can potentially get maybe even a 50% win rate on the Science FTK based on some people's testing, then you likely will potentially get the win in one of those 2 games that you go first. And then for the game you go second, you just switch up your game plan entirely. So that is the theory behind Science FTK. Of course, in practice, it's a lot harder to reach that ideal 50% win rate than you'd want, and so it can be a bit tricky here to actually pull that off. But GeoMyFS is going first. They do get to draw the extra card there, buffing up to 6 cards in hand. And yeah, this is a bit tricky. They're thinking about what to do here. They're going for Pod. I mean, Pod is a way to help out here a lot for if you're trying to pull off an FTK. But will they be able to go the distance here? I mean, there are many, many things that do it, many hands that get them there. They're not instantly slamming it, so they might not have it right away, though. I'll have to see what they do. They're thinking. And sometimes you do get hands with the FTK that are a big thing, you know. Occasionally that means that they're too risky, and that means that, like, you know, there's a potential failure, potentially have a reasoning or something like that. Do you go for the reasoning right away? Do you do other things? Potentially it just means that you've got a painful choice in hand that you really need to think about how to resolve. Occasionally it means that you just set one and pass, and that does happen sometimes as well. So unfortunately, it seems like this hand does not quite do it for GeoMyFS with the FTK. And yeah, so that could potentially come back to bite them here if Ratos has got ways to deal with this. Maybe they decided out of the FTK into a bit of a different strategy, but Based on how quick their siding was, I don't really have the highest hopes about that. Mirage coming down. Mirage will potentially draw them cards, and it will indeed. So Aratos draws 2 there. Geomyvest could have Spell and Trap move that they're saving for the other back row, and maybe that's why they didn't go for the Mirage there. Going for a Witch here instead. Witch getting summoned out, flipping up a Tomato, attacking in to the set, just trying to get aggressive here, and hitting a Spy. So Spy will bring out another Spy from deck, wall up a bit, deal 600, and you're probably not feeling too good about that. Passing back to Aratos there. Yeah, a bit of a worrying situation. You still have the FTK online, potentially, because you just need 7,000 life points to actually do the combo, but it's not looking good. Aratos might have the MST for the Mirage, but it looks like they do not. So 2 cards will be discarded from their hand. So it looks like Geomyvest is going to pitch that one and that one. So TT and Breaker. TT is pretty good to hit here, honestly. Breaker also good to hit. It's 1 less aggressive pressure here you need to worry about. Aratos might just keep walling up, though. Bit tough. I mean, Exile is going to deal with that Tomato, so that's pretty good. And then it looks like they are going to just switch their monster to attack, get in, get Geomyvest below the 7,000 life point threshold that they need for the full FTK. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, when you have access to a battle phase in this deck, you can do things a bit differently because the fusion monster that you bring out can attack over the Great Creature Spies that are left in attack here. But to pull that off, Geomyvest also needs to have Spell and Trap removal because you don't necessarily want to go full hog into a bunch of back row. Yes, it may be just like bluffs because you've got Mirage on field and you need to get cards out of your hand. But if any of it's real, then going for that sort of thing can be very, very bad. So, yeah, a bit of a tough spot for Geomyvest to be in for sure. They're thinking a bit about what to do here. They do have the Tomato in hand that we know about. They got a full 7 cards, or 8 cards in hand, actually. So, you know, they have a bunch of different things that they could potentially do. They are thinking about what to do. Very tricky. Ryu Sentry becomes an MVP aside from Book or Rivalry. Well, Book cannot set down the Sentry. It can set down another card you have, but it can't set down the Sentry. Rivalry is an important thing to think about, though, as well. Rivalry will shut down a lot of the Scientist deck. That's really rough. But Cannon Soldier coming out now. Reborn here as well. Is Reborn going to go for a Witch or an Exiled or a Tomato? Or what is it going to go for? They go for Tomato as well. Yeah, a lot of interesting choices here. Breaker, another option. The IO will stop that, though. Cannon Soldier attacking in to the Spy. Does the Rangers have another back row? They do. They have the Mirror Force. That'll stop the Cannon Soldier from hitting through. Now these Spies can attack in for 2,400 on the next turn. Really put Geomyvest out of the range of that FTK. And yeah, lights out. Geomyvest, you know, seeing the writing on the wall. I mean, there is still something here. They did pay these 7. So, yeah, that's fine. And yeah. Yep, IO is very, very good against this deck. But yeah, the meta also as well. Woo, rough stuff. Yeah, double meta. Last will. Pre-mat. So there were a variety of things that, you know, Geomyvest could have potentially done here. But yeah, nothing against IO for sure. Yeah, there's actually some nasty stuff you could have done there if the IO was not there. But the IO was there. And that's the difference. Don't mean to view replay there. But that is the difference, you know. Sometimes IO is the difference. So that will be that. Aratos will move on to the finals match between Dump Truck. We got the eternal locals match. Aratos and Dump Truck for the finals. The classic matchup. Always excited to see there. So it looks like a Dump Truck will be there in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And you know what that means? We got a little bit of downtime before the finals match start. So you know what that means. We're doing Scientist hands, FTK test hands. Let's do it. Let's do it. We got Scientist up. We're just doing test hands with Scientist FTK. This is what you came to see. This is what you came to see. Admit it. This is what you came to see. I mean, this is just, this is over, right? This is probably over. I'm trying to think about how it's not over. So if I do painful here, send 1, 2, send 3, 4, and 5 for the last Gilla. And that's just the end of the game. That's the end of the game there. Because if they give Gilla, then we get back Gilla, activate Will, special summon out Gilla, tribute over for Turtle, get out Scientist. If they give us Will, then we summon out Cannon Soldier, activate double Will, and tribute for that. So, yeah. The grandest of finals between Dump Truck and Aratos, the classic. So we will get to that in a second, but while we're waiting, you know, we got this. Oh my word. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly. Be a chat and run Paladin Scientist. That is something you could do. Aratus was the only person that you could not FTK. Yeah, I mean, Aratus is a powerful duelist. Like, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just set the painful activate card D, see what we get, because this hand is not the best for FTKing here, even with the painful. So let's draw 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Do I go for painful now? Do I go for painful later? I don't think that there's a set that I can send. Okay. If I send triple turtle pre-mat reborn. Yeah, triple turtle pre-mat reborn. That'll do it. So let's do that. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5. And that will do it because they give us the reborn or the pre-mat. We get back the turtle. Some of the scientists win that way. If they give us the turtle. I didn't think about it if they gave us the turtle. Let's put that back, actually. So what do we do if they give us turtle? How are we winning from this spot? What other card in our deck can get us the win there? If they give us turtle, what do we do if they give us turtle? We lose. So that was not the best set of cards to send there. Okay, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's send back these. Whoop, 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 whoop. I got too ahead of myself. That's what I did. Shuffle, shuffle. Let's keep this back in hand. Let's go for pot. Let's just see what we get. See if we have a way to get out of this better. Okay, now we can do the painful. Now we can go painful, send a turtle, and then reborn it back, do science stuff. So, okay, now we're fine. We managed to pull that one out. I should not have done painful before that, but okay, it looks like a dump truck is coming. So that'll be the end. And what an end, because this hand was unplayable. But, I mean, it's technically playable, but you know what I mean. So, okay, it looks like we're diving into the dump truck versus Aratos game. So we're going to be diving into that. And it has started off on a strong note here. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed the Scientist FTK test hands there. So we were able to kind of pull off FTKs on stream. But exiled for the tomato. Now dump truck can attack in with that witch there. Deal 1,100 damage. But Call will be able to bring back that tomato. So that witch will not be able to hit in for that 11. And looks like Aratos is in a pretty good spot here. Dump truck going to set one pass back to Aratos. Yeah, they're just going to attack in. I mean, what could the set be, really? I mean, the awkward thing here is that Witch can get out like a Scientist. So Scientist comes out, brings out Balter, and then it's kind of awkward. Breaker, also very good. You bring out Breaker, pop the Call. Got a big monster there to, you know, hit in. Of course, there is a set from Aratos there. But Breaker is a pretty good option. Now, really does depend on what else Dump Truck has in hand here for what they want to do. They're going to go for the Breaker. They're going to pop the Unknown. Okay. Hitting an IO. Very, very good hit. And, yeah, Raigeki coming down. So that was indeed a superb hit. Yeah. Looking bad for Aratos here. 2 cards to Dump Truck's 5. But, you know, it's never the end of the game in the DM era. You know, you can go down on advantage, and there are always ways to come back from it. So, never count out Aratos until the writing is on the wall. Exiled Force being used to pop that Breaker that will go through. Dump Truck gets to draw here. If they don't have another monster, this might slow things down a bit for them. If they do, though, they can get in for a fair bit of damage. Looks like they don't have another monster, though, or not a monster they want to attack in, so they're going to set 2, pass back. What would they set here? Maybe a Moth? Moth would be a decent set. Fiber Jar, maybe, but Fiber Jar is kind of awkward here because they have the advantage right now. They just want to get aggressive next turn, too. Yeah, not too many good sets here. Yeah, if it's Sangan, you want to attack into it, so it's not a Sangan. If it's Tomato, you want to attack in as well. So realistically, it's only like Moth or Fiber Jar, I would say. Maybe Serpent as well. Could be a Serpent. Dark Hole on the set, and IO on that. Oh, no. So that means it's not a Serpent, because you are fine if your opponent Dark Hole's a Serpent. Like, you do not care about that. If it's Fiber here, they're not going to pay for IO, because there's no reason to. And they do let that drop, so that, to me, says that it's probably an Fiber. They're going to go for Pot as well, just to see what they get. See if they got a more aggressive move than just flipping up the Fiber here. Or it's not Fiber, okay. What is that then, a Moth? If it's Moth, I feel like they would have flipped up the Moth, added back Pot, and gone for something else there. Could just be a Serpent, honestly. That they just wanted to, IO, just in case. Set in a third. I mean, Darkhole's gone, but no Raigeki is gone. I really don't know what these monsters are. I'm not sure what they're doing here. And Raiders will set one. You know it's not Fiber Jar, so you don't have to worry about that. But, yeah, kind of weird. Duo here coming down. Ripping 2 cards out of hand. Ripping Tribe. Okay, Tribe is good to hit. And a Snatch. Okay. 2 good cards gone, so that's pretty good. Yeah, the real Chad deck and a breaker is Gate Guardian FTK. Yeah, that's the true, like, that's beyond the mortal plane. You know, that is not something that us mere, normal duelists can reach for. That is something that the god tier gamers must aspire to, is Gate Guardian FTK. Unfortunately, I cannot pull that off. It was just a Scientist, okay. And Scientist isn't a bad set, I guess, because, what are you doing? You're just attacking for 300 every turn. Kind of awkward. Going for a Balter there, that makes sense. What are the others? Others are remaining sets, so what if it's 3 Scientists? Definitely could be. But, yeah. So, Balter clearing that tomato. Scientist attacking in for 300 more. And Balter returning to the extra deck. Back to where it came. Yeah, Raiders is in a tough spot. They need to clear that Magical Scientist now, or else they'll just keep getting in over their sets. I mean, Spy is pretty good against Scientist because you want to go for Balter when you've got the Scientist out. Balter costs 1,000. Can't get over Spy. Fiend's Skull Dragon is something that could attack in there, but that also doesn't deal with the Spy on board. So, a bit tricky there for sure. And what will the Dump Truck do? They're checking their own graveyard, seeing what they've used up. They're checking their opponent's graveyard, seeing what they've used up. They could also have a Monster Reborn here. Going for a Change of Heart on the set. And yeah, Raiders just scooping that up. They're like, yeah, no, I'm not coming back from that. So could have been a Moth, could have been a Spy. But either way, Raiders is preserving information here, so it makes sense. But Raiders is going to be going first here. So, that could potentially change things. Yeah, but big oof, indeed, Red Eye Solaris. Yeah. How it goes sometimes in this format. That's just what you sign up for when you play Breaker / Scientist / whatever you want to call it. But that's how it goes. But the people who do play it, they expect it. They're prepared for it. And that's just how it is. So Dump Truck is got the advantage here going into game 2, but anything can change in this format. Raiders could even potentially side into Scientist FTK. I doubt they will, but they could if they wanted to. Pot of Greed going for 2 more cards, drawing 2, going for a Painful on top of that. So that is about as busted an opening as you can get here. What they could probably send is multiple hand rips. I mean, that would be really good. If they side into Dust Shoots as well, they can send just guaranteed hand rip here. So yeah, very, very good stuff. Yeah, they're thinking though. They're thinking. Sending a Mirage. Okay, Mirage, very good card. Forceful, Duo, Comfy. Yep, those are the 3 hand rips. And what else are you sending? Last card, Speed Summon, good Graceful. Very, very powerful set of spells there. Given the Mirage, I think that makes sense. Mirage is a card that if you got MSC, you can deal with it. So it makes sense to give the card that you potentially have an out to. And it doesn't do anything right away. Raiders going to set 1. Are they going to go for the Mirage here even? They might not. They might not have the tools to actually make use of it right now. Yeah, they're just going to set 1. Set 1. Are they going to set more? Nope, just passing. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, Mirage is not in play right now, but Mirage could potentially come into play later. Set is potentially a Moth, but Knock will deal with that if it is a Moth. And it's a Fiber Jar. Okay, Fiber Jar also very, very good card there. So, yeah, that getting banished. I mean, better than banishing a Moth, right? If you're Raiders, you're probably happier that the Fiber Jar got banished instead of the Moth. But that does mean that this is going to be a game without Fiber Jar. So neither player has access to that. So a bit awkward. MST coming for that back row, hitting a Jar. So that's very, very good MST there. Dunrick won't be able to get the draw off that. If Raiders has a Scientist, then they can clear the Witch. They're just going to bring out a new Doria instead. That will clear the Witch, but now Dunrick potentially get the option to go into a Scientist of their own. Bring out Scientist, bring out Balter, hit over the Nude, attack in directly with Balter, or not with Balter, with Scientist. Gonna bring out a Breaker instead. Okay. Activating the Mirage now, setting 3, passing back to Dump Truck here. And Mirage will get to draw them 2 cards there. That's pretty good. Duster coming down. I mean, honestly, if you're a Ratos, you're probably not too upset about that, right? Because, you know, again, like, you drew 2 cards. So you're probably not too upset that, you know, they had the Duster there. And the Breaker, I wonder if that was a bluff just to try and get a Ratos to set a bunch to then go for the Duster play. That's kind of neat. I feel like the Scientist would have been a bit better, though, potentially. But I think it's fine. Duster also baits out IO, and then you summon out Breaker, go for the IO, and then you're fine there too. But Duster hits a TT now, and now for Ratos as another monster, they can get really aggressive here, but it looks like they're just going to keep attacking in with the Nude for 1,200 each turn. I mean, that's not a bad clock to put your opponent on. You know that Duster's gone, and they're going to set one pass. Pot of Greed here. Very, very good for Dump Truck. Very awkward for Ratos. Dark Hole clearing away the board, but hitting a Serpent, you're probably not too upset about the Serpent. You're more upset about the Nude being gone. Especially because Nudoria can deal with a Tomato. Tomato hitting in for 14, dropping down to 55. But you're not probably too upset about that. 1 back row set, you know, Breaker in hand. Adding back the Serpent in the standby phase there. Yeah, Serpent, very, very good. Just continuing to get that value. Going for Exile here to pop the Tomato. You know that you're getting hit by the Breaker next turn probably. But maybe you have a way to take control of the Breaker and pop Dump Truck's back row. So that is an option. Yeah, just pass him back to Dump Truck saying, do your worst. You can't FTK me from this position. Or you can't kill me from this position. OTK, I guess it would be. So I'm feeling pretty good. And Dump Truck's got to decide what to do. Could just go for Breaker, but Razor's potentially telegraphing that they have a way to take control of that Breaker and pop Dump Truck's back row. So they're just going to decide not to do anything there. They're going to bring out Witch, though, on a Ratos side, get in. So if that back row is something like a TT or a Mirror Force, you really don't want to use it on Witch, and that makes things awkward for you. And now if you attack over the Witch with the Breaker, you know the Breaker is getting cleared through some other form of removal. Scientist coming down, though, that will be able to pay 1,000, bring out a Balcher here, hit over the Witch there. That's going to be very good for Dump Truck, but again, Ratos might have ways to deal with this. Any monster does deal with Scientist. Now, the back row might not be something. It could be something. If the back row is something that deals with the Scientist, then, or not deal with the Scientist, but deals with the monster that Ratos brings out to hit over the Scientist, then that's pretty good. Setting a card here. Oh, that is, so that has to be a spy. No way that's not a spy, right? Because if it's Serpent, you just summon out Serpent, attack into Scientist, right? Like, that is the move if it's Serpent. Spy, though, Baldur does not hit over Spy, so it has to be a Spy. And yeah, they're bringing out a Tribe because Tribe will be able to pop the Spies that come out. I think you could probably save the Tribe for like main 2, but it does also allow you to get more aggressive too. Yeah, Tribe will be able to pop the Spies, but oh, no targets. Okay, I guess we know what else is in a Ratos' hand here. So yeah, does the Tribe even pop Spellcaster at this point? Like, do you go for that? That's why you potentially bring out the Tribe in main 2. Fiend Skull Dragon does not deal with Spy, it just prevents a Spy from coming out from deck. So yeah, it doesn't really matter there, right? So honestly, if I was Dump Truck, I might have even gone for like Roaring Ocean Snake or just something to get over the Spy, because they're going to have another Spy anyways, but like it doesn't really matter there. You just want to clear as much as possible. But I guess if you've got the Tribe, you're like, okay, I can just clear Spellcasters anyways. But now you're in a tough spot. So I do think that Dump Truck may be overcommitted in main 1, and they could potentially get punished here by a Ratos depending on what a Ratos has. They're going to bring out a Sangan here, just hit over the Scientist, and that's probably fine by Dump Truck here. Tribe can hit over the Sangan next turn, potentially pop the Spy. Painful, very, very strong card here. What are they sending off to Painful, though, is the question. If they've still got the hand rips in deck, which they likely do, and then they can send triple hand rip, and then 2 other cards. Yeah, this is a tricky spot for Dump Truck. Mid-game Painfuls are always very painful. Very, very tough to decide what to send in the mid-game off Painful. I mean, that's where, like, the skill intensity of this card really comes into play. Like, it's very simple to, like, look at just, like, okay, turn 1, if I have this, this, and this, I send this off Painful, right? That is something that you could feasibly just memorize, like, off the top of your head. You don't necessarily need to have, I mean, it could be an endgame Painful, but I classify this still in the mid-game because it still feels like each player has a fair amount left to go, right? Like, I don't think there are 5 cards left in Dump Truck's deck that just kill a Ratos here. And that is what I would classify as an endgame Painful. If you're firing Painful in the end of the game, Painful is the end of the game, in my opinion, for endgame Painful. The only other option is if you're deck thinning by 5 to draw into the things that does kill your opponent. But yeah, I think that this is the mid game for Painful, honestly. But yeah, and especially because like it wouldn't be an endgame painful if you're sending all these hand rips, in my opinion. But yeah, sending 5 pretty good ones. And that is going to be a bit tricky for Raiders to navigate here. You don't want to give the Reborn. Yep, going for Duo. I think Duo is the right choice here. You've got Serpent in hand, so like, what is Duo really doing? Besides costing Dump Truck 1,000. So yeah, it hits a Spy. So you did know about that other Spy in hand because Raiders wouldn't just play one lone Spy in the deck. And also hits a Serpent. So not giving you any new information really either. It is depriving you of some information actually. So that's kind of unfortunate. And yeah, hitting into a Sangan here. Honestly, maybe would have waited until attacking the Sangan to go for the Duo because you want to potentially hit what Aratos searches out here. So Aratos will search out a Magical Scientist, which will be able to deal with the Tribe. Yeah, kind of just an awkward spot for Dump Truck to be in general. Yeah, going for the Tribe here to pop the Spy while you got it. Looks like they've got a Serpent as well, so it makes even more sense to go for that. Yeah, but Scientist can clear the set, whatever it is, so bit awkward. You have either the last card in hand is probably Breaker, although the set could be Breaker as well, just baiting out the Scientist removal. So a couple things it could be that Aratus has to think about here. And Aratus also might not want to go for such an exposed Scientist, especially when you know Breaker's in hand, right? So yeah, it's a bit tricky. That Spy going is kind of awkward for them, but they are going to go for the Scientist here. What will Science bring out? Are they just going to bring out a Sentry, hit over the Tribe? Looks like they are just going to go for that. So bring out a Sentry here. Are they going to bring out a Balter as well? Drop down to 17. That's a bit scary. It looks like they are indeed. So they're going to bring out a Balter as well. And, oh, they got Snatch for the Tribe. So this isn't lethal, I don't think, at this point. But it is still a really good spot to be in. So Balter going to hit over the Faith, so that will negate that. Very, very good play there. Tribe will hit in for 16. Science will hit in for 3. Dropping Dump Truck down to 7. Main 2, you're probably popping the Tribe with its own effect, I would assume, because you know Breaker's in hand, so you don't want to give them back the Tribe. And you've got Serpent as well, so like you just pitch Serpent, pop Tribe, and you're feeling good about that. But Aratus probably also decided, do I pop the Scientist as well? I don't think you need to pop the Scientist if that is what they're deciding. So yeah, I feel like you just go Tribe, pop itself. That is what I think is going to happen here. Yeah, and they are indeed going to use the Tribe, pop itself, get rid of the Snatch, so that way, you know, Dump Truck's not gaining 1,000. They can't get back the Tribe if they have a way to deal with the Snatch, which we know they do because they've got Breaker in hand. Now, if you're Dump Truck, you might just want to summon out the Breaker, hit over the Scientist, but you also know that Aratos knows that you have the Breaker. So do you even do that? Snatch, oh, well, Snatch is lethal. Yeah, Snatch will do it. Yeah, and that is going to be the end of the game. Yeah, Snatch was kind of like what Dump Truck needed exactly there. But yeah, rough stuff indeed. Yeah, rough stuff for Aratos, but very, very intense games. Congratulations to Dump Truck on winning the Breaker / Scientist plus whatever you want to call it, locals. I think these were some very, very fun games and very, very intense ones as well. So very, very cool stuff. Dump Truck is the 10-time locals legend. So congratulations to Dump Truck for that great accomplishment. Will anyone be able to dethrone Dump Truck's title? Only time will tell. Join the next locals if you want to. It's over on the YGF from Zero Discord server. Link in the description down below. We do these every week. It does change day. So Friday to Sunday, sometime there. But it is always a lot of fun. We vary the formats as well, so definitely a great place to do that. And also, if you want to get games in any format that I feature on the channel, that's a great place to do it as well, just in the YGO from Zero Discord server. But that's going to do it for this stream. I hope that you all enjoyed as always. I do want to point out before we go that FTK did not win this locals. FTK did not win the tournament for Breaker / Scientist / whatever you want to call it as well. So this format definitely is not like a solve, just FTK format, right? FTKs are around, but there is gameplay to be had outside of that. So I encourage you, if you are interested in this format and trying it out, it may be better than you think. So definitely give it a shot. But if you like this sort of content, definitely subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. We're almost at 1,400 subscribers, and you know, with your help, we can reach that goal. I'd really like to reach that by the end of the month. I think we can. We're only 11 off last I checked. So yeah, we're so close. So please subscribe if you like this sort of content, and that'll also let you be notified whenever I stream as well. But I hope you enjoyed this stream as always, and I hope that this maybe changed your mind about Breaker format. Maybe you like it a bit better now. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this format as a whole. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off. Okay.